Huh. Before we begin, yes, Nier Automata is number one. You guessed it. Ta-da! Seriously, though, this year has been stupidly phenomenal for games. Again, if only for games. We've had everything from open world games, collectathons, text adventures, battle royale shootouts, a new Metroid for once, a new Persona for once, dad dating simulators, golf RPGs, and one definitively good Sonic game. Sorry, Sonic Forces, I thought you were okay. Because of this massive slate of games, we're going to have a couple changes to format for this year's top 10. First off, since we all know that Nier Automata is number one, and I've spent a ton of time talking about it, this list is not going to be 10 to 1, but instead 11 to 2. If you've played Nier Automata, and if you've watched my Favorite Games Project video on it, you know why it's my number one this year, and I don't want to waste your time. Second, there have been so many good games that I've played this year that I do have a few honorable mentions. A couple of them are kinda cheating since they're remasters of older games, but they're worth bringing up because they have new features that either really enhance their playability or just make them worth talking about today. And one more thing, I didn't really have the chance to play every single critically acclaimed game this year, so if you're disappointed by the lack of Yakuza 0, Prey, Horizon Zero Dawn, or the Sexy Brutale, don't worry, I plan on playing them next year whenever Monster Hunter World or Kingdom Come Deliverance offers me a break. I will get to them, eventually. But for now, let's get to the honorable mentions. And the first one I've got to talk about is the Kingdom Hearts PS4 re-releases. With Kingdom Hearts 3 hopefully on the way in 2018, I plowed through the entire Kingdom Hearts series this year on a bet, and I'm glad that I did. Of course, by entire series, I mean the 1.5, 2.5, and 2.8 collections. I stuck to the cutscene movies for Recoded, 358 Days Over 2, and Key, but aside from that, most of these games are good, and a couple of them are actually quite excellent. I really enjoyed the combat in these games, especially in 2 and Fragmentary Passage. There's almost a fighting game rhythm to reading your enemies, knowing when to defend, finding opportunities to land combos. These games are easy to learn, but hard to master, and their systems became kind of an obsession after a while. And for some of these boss fights, they kinda needed to be. They're pretty insane sometimes. The story is, well, I'm still trying to put the pieces together, but it's not as bad as people often make it out to be. The problem isn't that it's incomprehensible, the problem is that Tetsuya Nomura is making up this story as he goes along, but I'm planning on doing a plot summary video before the third game comes out, and I'd rather air my grievances during that. If you want to get into the series though, Squeenix has done you a pretty big favor by stuffing the whole thing onto 2 PS4 discs. So I say get on it. Especially if you want any idea what's going on in the third one. Don't worry, they're good. Most of them, anyway. Next honorable mention is the PC version of Vanquish. I tried this game out a while ago, back when it hit PS Plus on the PS3, and I really did not enjoy myself at all. Me and twin-stick aiming controls do not get along, especially in a fast-paced shooter like this one. But I don't have to worry about twin-stick aiming controls on the PC version, which came out this year, so I had a much better time with it. Mouse and keyboard controls, and also the 60 frames per second bump, completely saved this game for me. I was able to see now how crazy the mechanics are, and how fun it is to play this game. It fits really snugly in with the rest of Platinum's catalog, offering many levels of depth in its gameplay. You can play it like a basic cover shooter, but the game really comes into its own when you're zooming around the map, entering slow-mo, throwing grenades and shooting them out of the air, and just being a total awesome Space Marine dude. The story isn't as deep, but that's okay. Some of these lines are so bad that they're amazing.
Relax. We take them out here, and we risk the structural integrity of the tunnel. Dark eggheads.
There is a plot twist near the end of the game that I won't spoil, but it feels more creepy and uncomfortable in 2017 than it probably did in 2010. But that didn't really keep me from enjoying this ridiculous game from start to finish. Welcome to PC, Vanquish. We're glad you're here. Okay, last honorable mention is a game that was released in 2017, I promise. It's Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. Hellblade definitely has problems, but I'm still really impressed with what Ninja Theory ended up with. Many people have already talked about its achievements as an independent production, and they're right to do so. This game looks and sounds like it could have been a huge release, and Ninja Theory's smart budgeting and marketing helped it become a success. And I'm really happy for that, but I do want to talk about the game itself as well, because holy hell, this game is atmospheric, haunting, and often really creepy. I wouldn't call myself an expert on mental health or illnesses, but I'm really impressed by the amount of effort that went into taking this kind of subject matter seriously. The voices in Senua's head took a long time to get used to, but I think that was kind of the point. This game isn't really comfortable. A few of the puzzles are really iffy and the combat is repetitive, but because of the subject matter and the atmosphere, I'm really happy that Ninja Theory was able to make Hellblade. And I'm even happier that it sold as well as it did. I hope Ninja Theory gets to make more games like this. Okay, let's get onto the list itself. Reminder, this is my number 11 through number 2. So let's start with number 11. What Remains of Edith Finch? We had a lot of what people call walking simulators this year, but I think Edith Finch may be a new favorite for the genre, if only because it focuses less on the walking and more with actually interacting with the game world and learning about it. This is a game where you walk around an old house and learn about the family that used to live in it, which seems pretty par for the course when it comes to these kinds of games, but what really got me was how it uses its game mechanics and its medium to help the player relate to this family. Every family member has their own little mini-game that demonstrates their personality through gameplay instead of straight narration. The highlight, as many have rightly pointed out, is Lewis Finch in the Cannery vignette. But I feel like the rest of this family is also very vividly portrayed through the player's interactions with their rooms and belongings. You really get to empathize with these characters as they meet with their tragic, but also sometimes darkly humorous demise. It used its gameplay to make me think about my own family and their history, sometimes with joy, but also at some points with sadness and melancholy. Well, most of the time with sadness and melancholy, but you get the idea. It's the kind of game that made me want to give my entire extended family a giant hug as soon as it came to a close, and not a whole lot of games affect me like that, so that's why it's up here. Number 10. Persona 5. Yeah, I ragged on this one for having pretty crappy pacing, but I do ultimately want to point out that there's a really good game underneath all the dungeon crawling. It says something that the rest of Persona 5 is able to make it on the list despite the fact that half of my playtime was really tedious, because the other half really shines. And the writing behind the dungeon crawling is great too, it just has to fight through the combat to get there. When I think back to this game, it's not the dungeons that I think back to. It's hanging out with friends. It's going to go see a movie with Ryuji. It's helping Yosuke find inspiration in his work. It's reassuring Ann that she can make it in an industry that shuns American ancestry. It's going out for dinner with Mishima, or learning how to brew coffee with Sojiro. A couple of the story beats are really problematic, like Kawakami's social link or the nude painting subplot, and I'm gonna be honest, plotlines like those really stand out like a sore thumb in a year where sexual harassment and assault dominated the news. Rightly so, I should add. That is a worthy criticism that Atlus should take to heart, but I still had so much fun hanging around Tokyo with all these fantastic characters. If you can't ignore those problems, I really can't blame you. But I had a great time with this game despite those issues, and I hope Atlus learns from them in the future. Looking at you, Catherine Fullbody. Number 9. Night in the Woods. Night in the Woods is a game I sympathize with on a personal level. I have been this main character. Out of college, back at home living with your parents again, jobless, pit of dread in your stomach. I've been here. It sucked. So I guess this game immediately grabbed me because of that. This game is about a lot of things, but in particular, I think it captures that sense of being lost in a new responsible adult world. You go out, get into juvenile trouble, maybe uncover a dark Lovecraftian conspiracy hiding beneath the town, but at the end of the day, you still return home every night with that sinking feeling of humiliation that you're not living up to society's expectations of adulthood. It's really heavy, it's thick with atmosphere, and at times it's really unpleasant, but it still stuck with me because of it. Some of these characters can get pretty cringy, but in sort of a nostalgic way, I guess. Like, you could see yourself doing and thinking these kinds of things in your teens and early 20s when you're unemployed and you have nothing to do. It's kind of hard to put into words, but translates perfectly when you actually play it. Even with animal characters, Night in the Woods is a stark, realistic, scary, and really uncomfortable game, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Give it a look. Number 8. Sonic Mania. Alright, with 3 slow, atmospheric, hard-hitting looks at the human condition on this list already, we need to throw in at least something that is just bursting with fun. Sonic Mania was an absolute blast to play through. Its levels are jam-packed with surprises, and they're freaking huge. I've played through this game like 4 times now, and I still haven't found everything this game has to offer. It's the first Sonic game in quite a while to feel like a genuine labor of love. Which, considering the game's unusual development story, it kind of is. Sega took a huge risk handing the Sonic IP to Christian Whitehead and Headcanon, but I think it really paid off here. I joked about it earlier, but this game absolutely leaves Sonic Team's own Sonic Forces in the dust, and the implications of that are still kind of hitting me. If not for the Sonic IP, then for gaming at large. What does a publisher do if fan game developers seem to understand a franchise more than their own in-house developers do? I was on a friend's podcast at the beginning of the year, and I predicted that Sonic Mania was the game to watch because of those implications. I hope we continue to do so. I hope publishers everywhere take a look at Sonic Mania and learn from it that a little trust in your fans can go a long way. Number 7. Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. First of all, it's a coincidence that this game is at number 7, no pun intended, but second of all, man, speaking of franchises making a huge comeback, many great games this year, including Sonic Mania just now, have been proving that going back to franchise roots can not just be a hackneyed marketing buzz phrase, but a design philosophy that can result in genuine quality. Resident Evil 7 wasn't the only game this year to utilize this philosophy. Hell, it's not the last game on this list to do so. But it is a damn fine example of it. Resident Evil 7 is claustrophobic, disturbing, freaky, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And just because the game is going back to basics doesn't mean that it can't find something new to say. Setting the game in the Louisiana backcountry lets the game make some really fascinating commentary, especially towards the end. And the level design, I've really missed this PS1-y, almost Metroidvania-ish level design. This is the kind of game where even a first-time player could draw a map of this house on a napkin almost by memory. It's almost uncomfortably intimate, and that's just the way I like it. Long story short, if you've missed the classic Resident Evil brand of level design and want a damn good horror game, grab a copy of RE7 and settle in for a really spooky good time. Number 6. Doki Doki Literature Club. Now this game's just wholesome and fun. It's an adorable dating sim with 4 cute girls. No, this game's not adorable, it's terrifying. I can't escape from Monica, she won't get out of my head. Just Monica, save me from Monica, get out! Number 5. Wolfenstein II, The New Colossus. I think the world really needed a new Wolfenstein this year. A Nazi rally in Charlottesville got someone killed, to which our president responded that there were very fine people on both sides. Racial tension in the NFL reached several new disgusting fever pitches. This year, I just needed to shoot some goddamn Nazis. And Wolfenstein 2 was happy to oblige. Not only that, but Machine Games still employs some of the best storytellers in the business today, and I don't care what people say, you can see that in New Colossus. The characters are vividly written, and it mixes drama and comedy in ways I don't think I've ever seen a game do since New Order, even though admittedly it doesn't always do so successfully. And say what you will about the plot twist halfway through, you know the one. I say it was shocking, entertaining, and really effective, even if it did markedly shift the tone for the rest of the story. And not necessarily for the worst. I'll concede that the game does seem way harder than New Order, sometimes to unreasonable degrees, and hunting Nazi commanders gets really repetitive even if you don't do the side missions. But I'll say it again, the world really needed a new Wolfenstein this year. It's sad, funny, violent, and an entertaining reminder to stand up and resist Nazi alt-right scum. And I don't care if saying that loses me subscribers. Number 4. Super Mario Odyssey. Do I even need to explain myself? I thought not. Number 3. Oh, okay, fine. I'll explain myself. Super Mario Odyssey has the kind of variety that utterly baffles me. I still can't believe that a game can have this many disparate mechanics and still be as fun and consistent as it is. It's a return to the kind of Mario game that I grew up with. It throws back to Mario Sunshine with its giant worlds filled with goodies and attractions that entice deep exploration and creative thinking. The cap-throwing mechanic is absolute game design genius, and not just because you get to demonically possess things with it. It adds a new wrinkle to platforming, introducing advanced tricks that let you traverse the world with speed and ease. It's incredibly deep, and that's without throwing all the creatures you can possess into the mix. The worlds are weird, but not in a bad way. I was really put off by this Sonic Adventure-looking city in the trailers, but in-game, it's a fun playground that puts your abilities to the test in a non-violent way. There's a metric crap ton of different styles and aesthetics that Nintendo tries out in this game, and they all somehow fit. I'm not sure how exactly, but it all miraculously fits. Mario Odyssey is just so fun. Pick up a Switch for it if you haven't and have a good time. And speaking of picking up a Switch, number 3. The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. I think I've made my thoughts on Breath of the Wild pretty clear in my video on it, so I won't waste too much time here. This game is compelling, from its wanderlust to its melancholic story. I think the move away from traditional 3D Zelda structure was a brilliant one. It's audacious in the way it handles its massive open world, but also understated in its delivery. And yeah, it's far from perfect, weather effects often bring it down, and I'll admit the shrines could stand to look a little different from one another. But overall, I still stand by what I said earlier this year. I love the new direction that Zelda is taking, and I can't wait to see where Nintendo goes from here. Now, to keep inching my way through Master Mode. And finally, number 2. Hollow Knight. Sometimes you just need a quiet and atmospheric Metroidvania for a rainy afternoon. Hollow Knight isn't really innovative, it doesn't tread any crazy new ground, it's just a really genuinely good Metroidvania, good enough to top everything this year, bar near. It's haunting and spooky, but with just enough touches of joy and wonder to keep it from being unbearable. Its world is almost hypnotically compelling, both to look at and to learn more about. It's just the right balance between breezy and hard. It's beautifully animated and it looks gorgeous, even if the art style is simple. It controls like a dream, and it only gets better towards the endgame when you're a Metroidvania powered-up god. But it doesn't ease off on the difficulty even with such a massive moveset. I've already gotten far more than $15 worth of content from this game, and not only are they still adding more at a consistent rate for free, but I've missed so many secrets that I'm feeling compelled to hop in again and explore this world even more. I want to learn more about this game and just be in its world for longer. Not a lot of games can do that for me these days. The bosses can err on the ridiculously hard side sometimes, and the level design can feel a little boxy, but when those are the only complaints I can come up with off the top of my head, I know I've got a winner on my hands. It's not groundbreaking, but it's just damn good enough to find itself near the top of my list this year regardless. And in a year with standout games like the other 9 I just listed and Nier Automata, that is an achievement that cannot be downplayed. Plus, there's a Switch version on the way, and I just cannot wait to play this game on the go. Holy crap, this is such a good game for that platform. And that was 2017. A year of loot boxes, political incompetence, unbelievable natural disasters, horrifying sexual revelations, and, at times, genuine hopelessness. But we had really good video games, and while that sounds frivolous, that's the kind of thing that brings people together and gives them a little hope. And in the current landscape, sometimes that's the best we can ask for. I'll see you on the other side of the calendar. Let's endure 2018 the best we can.